Today, I'm joined by Kimberly Dunn, a clinical hypnotherapist, mindset coach, and lifelong horse girl. After more than 2 decades in the horse industry, Kim has helped riders around the world rebuild their confidence, overcome fear, and reconnect with the joy of being around their horses. She's the creator of something really cool, which I love, called the Ride or Cry Kit and the Enlightened Equestrian program, both designed to help riders move from fear, overwhelm to this calm, clarity, and confidence that we all want in the saddle. In today's episode, we'll dive into the psychology behind fear in riders and the tools you can actually take away and work with. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and that intro was so lovely. Thank you
Let's
very
just
much.
go to the beginning. So, as someone who is quite clear from your social media that you're a massive horse lover, but where did this all begin? Let's go right back to the beginning of Kim as a girl, little girl.
Okay, so I'm one of those strange humans that I have always loved horses from being very small, but I come from a totally non-horsey family. Like, yeah, nobody had any interest in horses. So I don't know where it's come from. But I was pretty obsessed. I used to, rewatch Black Beauty over and over again and the Black Stallion. I had all the videos and I just used to watch them over and over again. And I'd get all these horse magazines and make little folders with horse facts in. And yeah, I was obsessed. And really, didn't properly get into horse riding until I was in my late teens because we'd dip in and out and I'd go for the odd lesson here and there or like a little uh, like trail ride or something, like a paid thing. But we just couldn't really afford it as a family to get into. So it wasn't until I had my first little job and I could pay and get the bus and walk to the nearest yard that I got into horses. And so I was around 16 or 17 then, and I'd had quite a few life changes happen in my teens. I was a little bit lost, and horses definitely gave me a focus and a purpose, direction, a sense of peace and belonging that I didn't know that I needed. Um, yeah, and it kind of went from there. And the obsession that I'd had not being around horses suddenly turned into this whole other level. Um, and yeah, I pretty much immediately started working and just turning up to this yard that I was going to. And then it went from there, really. I did kind of the usual, did a little bit of like horsey college and some VHS stuff, which I didn't particularly get on well with. Um, and then did some working pupil things, so like worked at like an eventing yard and a hunting yard and different things. And then started, I did Camp America as well, which was obviously a thing. Did that twice. That was amazing. That kind of was the start of the Western side of things. That was like a little sprinkling and introduction into that. And then, yeah, turned 21 and I had gotten to the point where I wasn't getting on so well with riding in the English style. It just wasn't fitting for me. And I had, I mean, we'll probably get into this somewhere else, but I was having confidence issues big time. And I had gotten to the point where I felt like I shouldn't be around horses anymore because I didn't deserve to be around horses anymore because I kept doing things like falling off. And um, the lady I was working for at the time wasn't as supportive as she could have been. We'll put it like that, and it really broke down my confidence, and um, I was ready to give up the whole thing. So this like passion and this purpose was just it was going because I'd lost so much confidence, and then I found Western riding. I got a job at a quite a big kind of Western riding facility in the Midlands, and yeah, that opened up a whole other world, and things from there, just my confidence started growing again. I found this whole other way of riding that I absolutely loved, and suddenly I could get on with. And yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot to the old life with horses. I could go on for about 10 years, but basically, I was there for about 7 years. Worked my way up, was competing, was teaching, was running the yard, was grooming at shows, and then I kind of got to it just run its course. And then I spent 5 years traveling around the world, working for different horse trainers, trying to learn and refine my horsemanship skills to be the best that I could be. Kind of got into the world of liberty from there as well, and trick training and things, which I absolutely love. Um, and then came home 2020, and started thinking about setting up the business. Again, some mindset and confidence stuff came up, so I really worked on that, and that's where I kind of got into hypnotherapy. Um, and then, yeah, the rest is kind of what I'm doing now.
So much to unpack in there.
I know.
So thinking back to when you had your confidence knocked, most of us as listeners can recognize that, where we've had maybe a season of a few falls, which turns into maybe some of us kind of something changes, and then you think, oh, well, that was maybe just a bit of bad luck. But for some of us that really resonate with that, yeah, it's really knocked my confidence and actually self-belief to think I should even be around horses anymore, especially if someone else jumps on the horse and they stay on, it's a bit like, oh God, that's not good. But what, looking back now with the knowledge that that time when you were confidence was knocked, you mentioned that we won't mention names, but you said it was, also your environment, and then you changed environment. And what was it that kind of gave your confidence back? Was it the change in environment, or was it supportive people, or was it actually a technique that you didn't know you were doing, but you now teach? Like, what do you think it was?
I think it was a combination of those things you mentioned. So it was definitely change in environment, and definitely the change in coaching style and management style, I guess, of the people that I changed working for. So the lady that I was working for at this place, I still have friends, like lifelong friends of the girls I worked with at that place, because we were like quite a tight unit because we were under a lot of pressure and a lot of strain and stress. And we all lived together, and we talk about those times now. Like, it was tough, and it was almost, I hate to say, it was like being in the army, but it was really tough. It was so regimented, and the lady was very unforgiving, and her style of coaching just didn't fit me. I know now that a lot of the time I was in those lessons, I was under so much stress, and I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to be like everyone else and be at everyone else's level. Because the girls I was working with had been with horses longer, they had been out competing already and done loads of stuff, and I was behind, and I felt behind. And so I just was always seeing myself as bottom of the class, and I wasn't as good as anyone else, and I wasn't going to be as good as anyone else. Um, and then my boss, the lady who was coaching us in the lessons, um, I don't know, she just couldn't get why I couldn't get it, and I couldn't get it because I was in survival mode all the time. I couldn't think properly. I couldn't process the information she was giving me and then put it into practice because I was in freeze mode, because I was so stressed and under so much pressure. And then I go to work at this other place where the guy that I was working for was pretty laid back in comparison. And I mean, I don't regret working at this place because she did instill some really great standards in me of working, knowledge, horse care, and all the rest of it. Like, I don't regret it for a second. And I kind of took that into my next job and into the rest of my career with horses. But yeah, it was funny going from there to there, because suddenly, he's like, "Oh, you're doing all this extra stuff. That's great, and how tidy all of this is." But then in the coaching as well, same thing. Pretty laid back, supportive, spoke in a whole other way. It was not like, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. It was like, right, go and try this. And yeah, that's great. Now go and try that. And I just suddenly could function because I wasn't like, whoa, when I was riding. And so I think, there's I know that that was a massive element in the shift in my confidence.
You can really tell that you've lived it, which is so important for someone who now teaches it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's go back to just some of those, because there's people listening here going like, yeah, I feel that. I mean, even you said about how working at different yards, some yards you thrive in, some yards you don't. I remember myself I came from the racing industry, and
Mm.
working in some yards in the racing industry and then just switching out to another one, I was a totally different person, dependent on the trainer, dependent on how they spoke to me. So I think a lot of that is actually a bit of an unsaid experience that a lot of riders do go through, that we look back and go, I would never work there again, ever. I couldn't even talk properly, never mind ride properly. So that really resonates. Is
Mm.
there a moment where you can think back of this fear, this fear you get as a rider, like where you thought, okay, I need to change this, or was it just I was in so much fear, I lived through it, and then your kind of coaching came in with the hypnotherapy?
Um, so do you mean like kind of towards the end of like all that? Right. Okay. So I had always like as I was coaching, so I spent a lot of time in my 20s coaching like Western riding and everything, and it was always said by clients that I was good at making people feel confident, or installing confidence. And I think it's just because I had a lot of empathy, because I'd been in that place where you are like crapping your pants, or you're not getting something and you are getting frustrated with yourself. And so kind of naturally I had that empathy and that compassion, so I would always have a lot of patience and explain things as best I could and re-explain things with no kind of like, that's okay, we'll try it this way. And so that was kind of always there, definitely coming from a place where I had felt it. So I wanted people to feel better and to actually enjoy what they're doing. Um, and then I went for hypnotherapy twice, both on different occasions for different things, and just found it so helpful for like anxiety, for general anxiety around a couple of other things. And it just was really helpful. And I, at that point, had started on my own kind of self development kind of journey. I just discovered things like, I don't know, like just a bit of spirituality and working on things and like inner child work and things like that. So that was kind of all opening up for me anyway. And then the second time I went to my hypnotherapist, she also did a bit of coaching with me, and I was like, oh, so you do like what, like kind of life coaching as well? And she was like, oh yeah, it was part of the training I did. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And suddenly it just dropped in, like, why don't you just do this to help horse people? And then I researched it and I found a course, and then it kind of just went from there. But the other side of that was I'd kind of gone down the usual route that Western people do, where they've worked with horses, and so the next natural step is to be a horse trainer. And that's what I was kind of working towards doing. I worked with a friend for a bit as like an assistant trainer. But what I was realizing was, while I really, really enjoyed it and I got a lot out of it, it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like the right path, but I couldn't put a finger on what it was and why. So I had all this knowledge and this experience, but it just wasn't, I was trying to like fit myself into this, you know, what is it, a square peg in a round hole or whatever. And, I'm like, I've done all this training, so this is what I should be doing. But it just didn't, I couldn't see myself having my own yard and having a training barn and all the rest of it. But what I could see myself doing was really helping people understand themselves, find their confidence again, because it's in everyone, and then actually understand their horses so that they can help their own horses. So they don't have to sell them or send them off to a trainer. They can actually help themselves and help their horses and just have the best time ever. And that it kind of was a bit of a realization, and then I put it all into motion, and then yeah, I think that answers your question. Hopefully, see, I go off on tangents.
You've definitely answered it. So my I had two thoughts popped in. One is for those of us that are listening, what is hypnotherapy?
Okay, so I'll tell you what it isn't, because this is unfortunately what everybody thinks it is. You know, it's not this thing that happens where you go under and you're not in control of yourself, and then you can be made to, like, I don't know, make chicken noises or any of that stuff. That stage hypnosis, unfortunately, is seen a lot, and it gives hypnotherapy a bit of a bad rep. It's a massive misconception. So that's what it isn't. What it is you are in a state of deep relaxation. You are in control of your thoughts and your actions and everything else. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. But you're in this state of deep relaxation in which your mind opens up to suggestions, and it's basically more kind of um, malleable so that we can make changes, so that we can make positive shifts in your mind. And it is, I just absolutely love it. It's magical, the things that happen with this hypnotherapy. I love it.
I've actually had hypnotherapy myself.
Oh, cool.
Um, and it's something that I have thought, you know what, this would be good to go back to. And the way you described it is spot on because you thought or you assume the misconception is like you say, you're put under a trance
Mm,
and you don't know anything, but you are actually you're there, you're consciously aware of what's going on.
yeah.
That was my experience anyway. So thank you for explaining it. So why, just speaking openly here, why do you think so many riders actually struggle to talk about fear?
Oh, well, I think there is unfortunately a lot of shame around being scared. And I know I used to feel like it too. Like everybody else, you assume that everybody else is getting on great and they're okay and they're just so brave and amazing and can do anything. And so because you are worried and scared, it makes you seem like the odd one out. And unfortunately, again, like the equestrian industry as a whole is so come on, just get on with it, just get on with it. And because of this just get on with it thing, that I'm sure we've all experienced, it makes you feel like, well, I should just get on with it. And you just keep burying it down and burying it down. And yeah, okay, you might have one good ride, but then the next one, you're back to those horrible feelings again, that like tight feeling in your gut, your heart racing, thinking, oh, am I going to survive this ride, and not having any kind of positive thought. Um, and so, yeah, we hide it. And yeah, I think the main reason is shame, which is really, really unfortunate. And I think actually, if more of us were open about it and admitted it, that is the start to shifting it and lifting the shame. Because we all, like, I would, like, there's not one person out there that's involved with horses that hasn't had a moment, at least one, that where they've been worried. So, yeah.
And going on from that, like what in your experience, do you see any common root causes of things like fear? I mean, is anxiety in a different bracket to fear that you see in
Um,
riders?
I think with there's a few avenues actually. There's like there'll be people that have experienced an accident or seen an accident, Usually one that's kind of given them some kind of injury that's then affected the rest of their lives, like as in, I don't know, they've had to have loads of time off work, or they're self-employed, or that, like, there's a lot of weight around not being injured. New mums as well, that's a big one, because suddenly you have someone to care for and it makes you like anxious about everything. Like that is a definite. Um, the other avenue is general anxiety and stress in the life outside of horses that seeps in and affects your time with your horse. Um, the other one's gone out of my head. And then the other one will be like it just comes from other like traumas in life and then is projected onto your horse. So that's another one, I would say.
Yeah, I see that even across working with women from the hormonal side. I see a real trend, and it's not even a trend, it's a pattern with women who've been riders most of their life. They have a child and they're like, I'm suddenly I'm anxious.
Yeah.
Like this is not the same. So I have my explanation, but do you mind sharing your experience and explanation to why suddenly you're going, I'm starting to get more anxious now about
Mm,
riding. I never was before.
mm. I think usually and that as well, I just want to say to the listeners, it's a pretty normal thing. Is I'll get a new client and they'll say, I never used to feel like this. I don't know why. Suddenly I've started to feel like it now. It's so frustrating. I used to do X, X, and X. And it's almost like they're trying to prove to you, look, I used to do this stuff. I'm not this person. Uh, and usually I find it's like that stress bucket analogy. I think it's just a pile up of different either stresses with the horse or um, that are kind of reflected because then the horse is stressed out because you're stressed out and that's kind of built, or stresses from other areas of life and it's piling on until it can't fit in that stress bucket anymore and it just all overflows and becomes a thing. Um, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I suppose the question I ask myself is, why doesn't just be brave work? You know, why don't that get on with it? Why doesn't it
Yeah.
work?
Well, it doesn't work because this is good because you're like highlighting all the things that like annoy me. So just get on with it doesn't work. This is like, okay, this is like when you and it's not a very nice image that I'm going to bring up, but it's like when you have a horse that doesn't want to go through somewhere, and so you get your whip out and you bash, 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 bash. You push it through, so the horse has got past the thing, but you haven't created a good experience. You haven't created any kind of good training or progress or a foundation with the horse. You've got from A to B, but that's going to pop up again and again because you haven't got to the root issue, which is your horse is worried about something. So how can you support them through it? How can you I don't want to say fix the problem, but how can you give them the tools to cope in the future? Okay. So, and it's the same for you. You can't, just getting on with it will get you from A to B potentially, or it might not. You might fall off and make things worse. If you actually stop and look, you have to turn and face the problem, which isn't always easy. It can be tough and confronting and overwhelming. But if you can turn and face the problem and pick it apart a bit and then put it all back together, you've got such a more solid foundation to be able to not only deal with whatever it was that was making you nervous in the first place, but anything else that pops up in life. Um, so yeah, that's why.
It's almost like a mentality as kids, right? I remember when I fell off as a kid, it was like get back on straight away. Like the worst thing you are told is to not get back on. You're
Mm,
told to, the minute you fall off, you get back on the horse and you face the fear. Is that,
yeah, yeah.
have you heard of that before yourself?
Oh yeah, I've done it because it's the done thing, isn't it? It's what you think you should be doing is get back on and go and jump the jump again. But the trouble with that is you're again you're in survival mode at that point. You've got adrenaline flying around your body. You cannot focus. You're forgive me if I'm telling you to suck eggs here with the whole nervous system thing, but like when you're in survival mode, your prefrontal cortex is offline, which is the part of your brain that allows you to actually think about what you're doing. And okay, so when I approach the jump, I need to do this, this, and this, and I need to help my horse by. It's just gone. So you're just running on well, what you think you should be doing, and so you're not going to be able to execute whatever you need to do properly. You're not going to have a good experience. Um, and if you do go and jump it, then good and great, but how are you going to handle that situation if it pops up again? And the same with your horse. Your horse is probably like, wow, because you've just fallen off. They're not relaxed. All it takes is you getting up, having a walk around for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you need. Give yourself time to regulate, give your horse time to regulate, then go again. That's the difference. And that's like a 10-minute difference rather than quick, get back on, off you go. So,
This leads into the next question quite nicely. We definitely should also just confirm what regulate means. But
yeah.
as a hypnotherapist, how do you see the link between what the body feels and what the mind believes?
Yes, love that. Excellent question. Um, okay, so your body and your mind obviously are very linked, and your nervous system is linked to your brain, and it goes to the rest of your body. And so it's really, really important. Um, if you're in the moment and you're worried, you're stressed, you're nervous, whatever, that you take some time to get out of your head and the worries and get into your body, because that is how you regulate or calm down your nervous system, calm your body. Then you can come back to your brain. Because again, if you are feeling those nerves, if you've got your heart rate's up, you feel all jittery, you can't breathe properly, you've got that tight feeling in your stomach, you're in survival mode, you cannot get into your head and think calm thoughts. But if you just take a second to get into your body, so maybe some breath work, maybe you can shake it out. There's loads of different ways you can help to regulate yourself. Then, once you're calm, your heart rate's down, you can actually function. Your prefrontal cortex, again, this thinking part of your mind comes back online, and you can then start to alter your thoughts. So they are so intricately linked that it's really, and that's why as well, I coach and people in the way I do. Like I don't just, it's not just about the hypnotherapy. I want to give people the tools to help themselves in the moment with their horses, because it's so important.
Great explanation. I'm smiling because I'm going, we should probably explain what regulation means. So we
Mm,
hear the term a lot nowadays of
yeah.
high cortisol, which is great. But
Mm,
for a rider that sat there going, I felt that, Kim, like, I can feel when I'm feeling anxious, the chest feels tight. But
mm,
but what does it mean going into your body? Like
yeah.
it's scary,
Yeah.
because it's not what we don't do often anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I talk about this a lot. So I always forget that like people still don't, and because I'm in like the world of it, I forget people still don't understand what this is. And yeah, it might be a term that listeners have heard before because it is being used a lot now, and for a very good reason, because it is this information is life changing. And if we were taught in schools, if every human was taught in school about the nervous system and how to regulate, the world would be different. And I am 100% convinced of that. Like it would be a different place. Um, okay, so um, when we feel threatened in any way, um, our survival mode starts to come into play, and it's a very primal thing within all of us to help us to survive, to live. And it's all mammals, so our horses are the same. Our horses are just obviously a bit more kind of they're quicker with it because they have to be, because they're prey animals, and they need to have that heightened awareness and that heightened response. Um, but it is very, very similar aside from that. So anything you find threatening in that moment, whether it be an actual thing that is actually threatening or whether it's something you've seen on Instagram, our body starts to go into survival mode. And what that means is your amygdala, which is like the fear center of your brain, starts pinging out alerts, and this survival mode comes in. So you either have fear, no, you don't have fear. You have a freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, and or fawn, but we won't talk about that one. So those things then uh, come in play to help you survive whatever it is in that moment. So flight, you might feel like you want to run away. So you've maybe got that adrenaline in you and you feel like maybe you want to run or get away from the thing. Freeze is like the classic, you just freeze and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say. Your horse is doing something and you just bunch up and just don't know what to do. And then fight, obviously fight, not necessarily you want to punch something, but it also brings in like irritability. So the classic for horse people is you're at a show and you are feeling really tense because you're in survival mode, and whoever's there, your poor helper, whoever they are, you're shouting at them and you're like, "Ugh!" And that's because you're that's because you're in fight mode. So everything's going to your muscles. So you have that adrenaline going around, you have cortisol pinging around, and your digestive system comes offline as well, which is why often we have to go to the toilet 55 times because it affects your digestive system. And yeah, it can manifest in that tight feeling in your stomach, your heart rate going up, shakes. I used to get like I'd have so much adrenaline going that I would feel like I was fizzing inside almost, or butterflies in the stomach. And yeah, like I said, because everything's going to keeping you alive, all the information, all the hormones and everything, prefrontal cortex comes offline, and you cannot you cannot learn and retain new information. So that this is what was happening to me in lessons. This might manifest as you go to do a dressage test and you can't remember what you're supposed to be doing. Um, the other ways is you just can't think what to do with your horse and how you should help them in that moment. You don't know how to stop them. You don't know how to help them, etc., etc. So yeah, I think that was that the, is that in answer to your question there? That's
It's
what it is.
it's great to hear the breakdown as well. That was
Yeah,
very clear.
good.
Um, and it links into, do you see the parallels between nervous system of a rider and the connection that we have on our horses?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So your horse, people hate hearing this because it's quite confronting. Your horse is your mirror. And yeah, people hate hearing it because sometimes it's hard to hear. And I've at clinics talked about this, and you can see there's like the occasional like offended person, like, no, but I'm perfectly calm, and their horse isn't. And actually, like I can tell by the way the person is around the horse or acting that actually they're not that calm, and their horse is responding to that. So yeah, your horse, because they are a prey animal in particular, and their main thing to survive is flight, their senses are so much more heightened than ours, and they are always on the lookout for danger. And so they can sense our energy. And so if we turn up to the yard and we are stressed out from the day, we've got other stuff going on, we've brought that with us, they know. And then they think, right, okay, well, if she's worried, I need to be worried. I don't know what they're worried about, but I should definitely be worried. So then they're tense. Then you notice your horse is tense, that makes you tense. Then they notice you're even more tense, and it just turns into this cycle. So we can break that cycle by just doing some really, really simple things, like when we get to the yard, just taking a moment to de-stress before we go hang out with our horse. Be that calm person for our horse so they can find their own calm with you. So, yeah.
I resonate with that even when working as a therapist. So rider to
Mm,
therapist, I've even noticed that if I don't like I've trialed it. So I've done like a yoga for me really grounds me. And I notice a difference in my treatments when I do yoga. And I've noticed a difference when I don't do my yoga. So I'm not saying that I don't try my best in both situations, but I'm definitely able to be less triggered by like traffic and things like that than
yeah.
I am if I don't do yoga. And that's just like a little experiment I've tried on myself where I'm
Mm,
like, and maybe it's just on those days, who knows, I should do more of a scientific um
yeah.
like
Yeah.
study on it, but it definitely I feel it. So it's
Yeah.
interesting how I kind of wish I was doing all of that before when I was a rider,
Mm,
like a competitive rider to see the difference.
yes. Yeah.
Um, the ride or cry kit, what a cool name. Like tell us for those who are listening who don't even know what this is, but definitely should get a copy of it.
So it's a really kind of easy access way to dip your toe into hypnotherapy with me. But I just wanted to create something for equestrians that's just, it would just help you and they would just sort you out basically. So it's 4 audios. So you have hypnotherapy, confident riding hypnotherapy recording. You have a nervous system regulation audio, which is basically me. I mean, I love this audio bundle. It's me talking you through like a little regulation practice. So it's kind of, there's a bit of breath work in there. There's some grounding in there. There's like coming to your senses. There's like fist. So if you feel angry or frustrating, if you can like squeeze your hand into a fist and let go. So basically, you can get to the yard, and if you are feeling stressed, you can just put that audio on, and that's going to help you step into the time with your horse feeling calm. Um, there's a visualization in there. So the visualization is a really, really powerful way of helping rewire your mind for confidence and success. So that's in there. And then there's affirmation. There's an affirmation recording in there as well. So basically, it's super easy access. You don't have to, like, if you, because some people are uncomfortable with like working one to one with someone. This is just like an easy way you can just take and just experience a little bit of hypnotherapy, mind rewiring magic designed especially for equestrians. Um, yeah, so I think, yes, I love it. And if everyone had access to it, then that would be amazing. So,
That's great and also practical on the go because
yeah,
so many, like especially in today's world with self-development, with coaches popping up everywhere online, I see a real disconnect with some other writers because I hear a lot of I haven't got time for that, or
yeah,
you know, it's just I haven't got the money for this, or
yeah, yeah.
I I've just got other things to do. And it's I don't know if it's an equestrian thing, but we would rather invest into our horse than we would ourselves.
100%.
Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing because we love
Yeah.
horses and they are there for so much more than just to be ridden. But what's your experience working with riders and do you hear the same thing that I've just mentioned where it's like I haven't got the time or the investment. I don't know if I should be doing this for myself.
Mm. Yeah, I do. And I used to be that person too. Like when I had my horse, I would, the second there was something even slightly wrong with him, I was buying him a supplement that was like 50 quid. I was booking him the physio. And then meanwhile, I'm walking around, I'm absolutely crippled with my back, or like should really be booking a massage. But no, I will immediately spend all the money on him, which yes, as horse owners, we love our horses, we want the very best for them. But the disconnect is realizing that we are the other half of the partnership. And whether it's that you need to go for physio yourself so that you're not making your horse wonky, um, or you need to go to the gym to make yourself stronger so that you can, support them better when you're riding, or you need to go get some hypnotherapy and some mindset coaching so that you can be that calm, anchored person for your horse that they need because they're a flight animal and they need your they need to find safety in you. Um, yeah, it's and I'm sure you find this too. It's providing information and inspiration to people to help you realize that you are as much a part, you're half of the partnership with your horse. And so it's just as important that you sort yourself out as it is you sort your horse out or help your horse out, sort it
Mm.
out. So yes, I have found that, and I have, unfortunately, what can happen a lot with clients is they come to me when they're on their last straw, when they are about to sell their horse, or they are about to give up because they've gotten to the point where their confidence is so low, or things have gotten so emotional. So I wish I wish people would come sooner when they're having the wobbles and get it sorted then. Sorry, my dog's just coming past there. Um, and yeah, and then it's not such a, it's not such a I've got to do this or I'm quitting, you know. So yeah, it is a struggle, but it's something that I will keep soldiering on with.
There's a real misconception. I don't know if it's because of just how quickly things are moving in this like today's world, but just on what you've just said, I find that we also, and I'm like this, but I'm slowly breaking free from it, which is that all or nothing. So with like, for example, nutrition and diet, riders will say to me, I'll start again on Monday, or, you know, or I'll start, or I'll do this for myself when this happens. Or it's almost like we live in the hope that we'll get there one day. Whereas, and I get that from your content, and I'm trying to do that myself of like understanding that it's actually just something really small and practical that you can do today, any day to start, then instead of thinking you have to change your whole life to do this. So, what's one simple mindset shift that you can give riders to give them a result that they can feel?
I love that. I love everything you just said, and it's so right. Like we do think that it's everything has to be this big lofty thing when actually it's those small, tiny, little shifts that make the difference, and the small, tiny little habits that all stack to make those big changes. I'm the same. Like I've started trying to drink more water, and that starts with just first thing in the morning, have a glass of water before anything else. It's just that small shift that is going to make the big change eventually. So a tiny, okay, so one tiny thing that I would invite everyone listening to this to do that's going to help elicit some shifts and change is um, after every ride you have or every training session that you have with your horse, note three good things or three areas of progress from your session. And it doesn't matter how big or small these shifts are. It can be like you had a moment where your horse was really soft and really responsive. Just a moment. It doesn't have to be all like three really great strides of canter. Or you went to catch your horse from the field and they looked at you and they whinnied. Like that is it's in noticing those things that you start to train your brain to see more of the good things instead of what we always do, which is remember only the bad bits. Because it's remembering only the bad bits that train your brain to see more of them, which then adds to your own belief that you have about yourself that, I don't know, you're not very good or whatever. So, yeah. So, one small thing that you can do from today and forevermore that will help shift things is just notice three great things from your session.
Oh, I love that. This actually goes into what I was going to ask you about some of the common patterns you see in amongst riders to why they lose confidence.
Okay, so it's comparison is a massive one. So again, we talked about like environments. So if you are in an environment that is not healthy for you and your horse, so one where you are always comparing yourself to everyone else, or to go into like another area of the environment where you don't feel supported, where perhaps everyone's doing one thing and you're trying to force yourself to do that because everyone else is. So shoulding all over yourself, thinking I should be doing this, I should be doing that when they don't actually want to be. Um, and then, yeah, classic, had an accident, had a fall, seen someone else have an accident, and that's coming in. Um, Social media is a massive one for people losing their confidence. Again, comparison, everybody else is doing X and I'm not, therefore there's something wrong with me, or I'm behind, or whatever. Um, and I'm trying really hard not to give all the solutions for all these things as I'm talking, because I could go on forever. But yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons, or it could just be, again, like there's other areas of life that are causing stress or low self-esteem, whether it's a relationship, whether it's career, um, whether it's you've just started a family. Like there's so many things. I've seen it all.
It's almost what you're saying as well with the kind of what you focus on,
Hmm.
you think more of, don't you? And I'm definitely can fall into that bracket when you're having one of those days or things don't seem to be going right. It's so easy to hear the thought or whatever you have in your mind that you believe, and then you just keep thinking one thing after the next is the next. And it goes back to the really great advice that you gave listeners, which was like just focusing on what actually felt right or what went well, or and I think it goes back to us underestimating the importance of what we think and believe and focusing on that. Um, because getting the perfect ride doesn't exist every day. And I've asked riders around the world why they do it. So why we put ourselves through it, why we keep going. And the answers I get is for that sense of progress, you know, um, a sense of progress, even in a competition or just training at home. It's just that little bit of 1% better. And I love your advice of, okay, well, if that is what our goal is, and that's what keeps us getting up in the morning and doing this, let's train our brains to actually be a bit more positive thinking. And I don't even know if that's the right word because it's got such a negative association nowadays, this positive thinking. So it's just, yeah, how would you reframe that in your words? What's another word I can use?
Yeah, I think yeah, the trouble with it is, and I think what you're kind of alluding to is there is like a lot of there's this thing around like toxic positivity and I can't think of the phrase now, but where you're just kind of, like bypassing your spiritual bypassing, where you're just like, no, everything's fine, we're absolutely fine, this is amazing, and it's not that. you are literally retraining your brain when you start to notice the good things. Or it's not a case of forgetting the bad bits, but it is about looking at them in a different way and reframing things in a different way. So for instance, okay, so I've had a an okay session with my horse. These were the three things that I loved: that moment of connection, that moment when they were flicking their ears back towards me, maybe that nice transition. But there was a couple of things that pop up that didn't go so well. Rather than, so this isn't a case of, oh, they didn't happen. This is rather than that, okay, so there's these few things that happened. So let's look at them. Right, this thing happened. So I don't know, say they spooked it, a pigeon flapped up and they spooked. Um, so, okay, let's look at that. So the horse spooked the pigeon. It wasn't that big a spook. And they moved on quickly from it. So actually that's a positive. Um, and what can you do differently next time? Well, the next time the pigeon pops up, or because it's always going to happen, because they always do, take a moment to take a breath. So you can still look at the bad thing, but look at it, look at what you can learn, let it go, and move on, and then focus back on these positives. And so I would, to answer your question, I would say we are not, so it's not like a case of only looking for the positives. We are um, looking for those moments of joy, looking for those moments of progress. And I would just say you're just retraining your brain for more confidence and joy with your horse. Not necessarily, doesn't have to be like, oh, it's positive, we're positive thinking. We are looking for those glimmers, those moments of joy with our horse. Because, and this is the thing that we all go off on, is like, one day I'll be confident. One day we're going to do this thing, and that's it. My confidence is going to be set. But actually, again, it's in those small moments. You are here now. It doesn't matter what you've done before. It doesn't matter what you're possibly going to do or what you want to do. You are living now in this moment with your horse. So what can you take from this moment that's going to help build your confidence and is going to help you find that joy and that gratitude with your horse? Too many of us live in the past or live in the future, but not in this moment. And so we have to find the joy in the moment. Otherwise, we're always going to be chasing that, possibility. And that only breeds, more anxiety or longing for something that you could be feeling right now.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just sitting with all that really helpful information going. My brain's going, yeah, yeah. Working with riders all over the world, what's one of, it doesn't have to be the most powerful, but what's like a transformation with someone who you've worked with recently that you can share with the listeners today, where you've gone, do you know what? That's why I do what I do.
Um, I mean, there's a few. The best ones are the ones where the person arrives and they're kind of like, they like, the first session is often like, we will go, okay, what are your struggles and how would you like to feel, and what do you want to be able to do by the end of this? And the person will come and they'll kind of offload everything and then be like, you can't help me, can you? This is too much. I bet you haven't met anyone with as many problems as me, or blah. And it will seem like, they're really at the lowest of the low, and they can't see the light yet. But it's those moments where they'll send a message and they're out on a hack on their horse, which they never thought they'd do. Or they're at a big one for people is a really small thing to some, which is just riding out in the open on their own. That's like a big thing that people struggle with. And it's when they send videos of them doing that, and they never thought they'd get to that point. And then by the end of working together, they'll be out cantering on their own. And for me, like, it's those ones where they've been at the beginning, they've been like, I'm beyond help. And they're now doing this, and they're now actually finding joy in what they're doing again. And they're excited again to go and do more things. And they're booking in for like fun rides or clinics or competitions. And then they're sending me pictures of rosettes, and it's just, It's the best feeling. And every time it feels to me like absolute magic because I think, wow, like how cool is that? Because yeah, I think as horse people, we have this like I could nearly bloody cry thinking about it. But we have this magical connection with horses, don't we? And this passion that we are definitely a different breed of human. We have this absolute passion and fire for horses. And so when that starts to go out and we start losing that, it's devastating. So to be able to reconnect people with that is just the best. But yeah, I mean, there's countless stories of it's basically a rock bottom. This is usually through the program, this rock bottom, and then they're out competing or out doing fun rides, and it's that. And I always try and make note, like on our last call together, I'll be like, right, do you remember at the beginning of this, you felt like this, and you just wanted to be able to do that, and now look at you, and it's just yeah, it's the best.
A, a real example of someone who's not only practicing what she preaches, but you can tell in your voice, the way you speak, that it is in your flow, if that's the way to say it.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell that this is something that you're meant to be doing, and um a different way of creating impact in the world with riders, because it's such an commonly known thing about fear, anxiety, lacking confidence, but not many people know how to overcome it without feeling ashamed that they need to say, I've got a problem,
Yeah.
I need help with. So it's
Mm.
so awesome to meet someone like yourself who's creating change in a way, in a very light-hearted way as well. I like the way you say things. What are three daily practices that riders can do to stay grounded, connected, and just feel more calm around their horse?
Oh, I love that. So, um, super easy. Like none of this stuff is complicated. So three super easy things you can do to, yeah, get that with your horse again would be when you get to the yard, the second you pull in to park your car, just do a check-in with yourself. Check in with how you're feeling in your head and in your body, and just take a moment to reset in one way or another. So whether that's you've had a tough day at work, call a friend quick, offload. Maybe you need to sit in the car and have like a good sing your head off. Maybe you need to shake your hands out to just shake off that energy, do some breath work. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Maybe you need to walk a couple of loops around the car park. Just take some time to check in and reset, because the energy that you take from your day goes to your horse. So just reset yourself. Um, Second thing would be to, when you are with your horse, from the second you catch them in to grooming to riding, just be present with them. And that means no phone, which I realise is shocking, but our phones, you know, they they are so unhelpful to us, but in so many different ways. They're helpful in some, but more unhelpful than they're worth a lot of the time. So yeah, just really, really be present with your horse. Check in with your horse. How is your horse feeling? Like what's going on with them today? Notice them. Notice their body language. Notice how they're holding themselves. Notice how with you they are, how connected they are. Um, so yeah, so reset. Take some time to notice your horse and be present with your horse. And then the third would be coming back to this, you've done your session. Okay, what are three really great things from this session that I'm going to bank in your head? Because not only are you rewiring your mind to look for more of that and to be thinking a little more confidently, you are also you're showing your subconscious what you're capable of. So if you've been losing your confidence, you're showing yourself, I'm capable of achieving that great transition. I'm capable of being a little calmer when the pigeon pops up. And that will bank in there to move towards you feeling more confident. So reset, be present, and take 3 good things from your session.
Love it. 3 practical things that anyone can go and do today.
Yeah.
Really, really good. I always like to wrap up the episode with a question, which is, what's one lesson a horse has taught you that you couldn't have learned anywhere else?
Oh God. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, you're more capable than you think you are. So my horse that I had for 4 years, so he was on loan, beautiful, amazing. If you're feeling a bit woo, definitely a big manifestation because he is the most beautiful, like black beauty kind of a horse you've ever seen. Um, he was my first experience at owning a horse, and I wanted to do liberty work and trick training with him. And previous to having him in my travels around the world, I had done a lot of training around liberty and trick training. And the liberty start to get your horse circling around you and everything had always been done in a round pen. And I was at a yard at the time that didn't have one. I had an arena, a fenced in arena, thankfully. And so I kind of set myself the challenge of getting him going at liberty without having this round pen. And I kind of had this big, like, oh, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. Had this kind of these beliefs popping up. And we did it. And he was great and amazing. And it really was it was really affirming. And I was so proud of myself and him that I had done this on my own, no help, without a round pen in an arena, and we've got it. We've achieved this thing. And I think it's funny that I'm able to share this now because old me would not have wanted to say, oh, it showed me how capable I was because I'd be thinking, oh no, you're bigging yourself up there. Like, don't do that. That's going to sound arrogant. Blah, blah, blah. But this is something that I really help train clients on is that it's okay to say I did well there or I'm proud of myself in this moment, and more of us need to do that because again it ups your confidence. But yeah, I was that just you're more capable than you think you are, I think. So many other lessons from so many other horses because again there's great mirrors to us. If anyone's going to show you, where you can improve in yourself, horses are going to do that. But on this occasion, ending on a nice positive note, you're more capable than you think you are.
What a way to end the episode. If people wanted to work with you, where do they contact you? And yeah, how can they find you?
They can find me so I'm on the socials as the horsemanship and mindset coach. So Instagram, TikTok. I do go on Facebook, but not too much. The website is outerwildhorsemanship.com, which I will send you a link to because it's always a dodgy one to spell. And I'm always contactable in the DMs or via email. And yeah, just and the podcast as well. The Horsemanship and Mindset podcast is on everywhere. Yeah.
That's great. I will make sure that we put all the links in down below. Kim, really appreciate this. I feel like we've just done a bit of an intro into horsemanship mindset. So there might be scope here if you're wanting to come back
Yeah.
and we do something a little bit, not slightly off topic, but I feel like this is just an intro because there's so much so much more to unpack in the time that we've had together.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yes, there is. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with all of that, isn't there? But no, it's been a pleasure, and you'll have to come on. You'll have to come on my podcast as well. I'm going to start doing interviews again next year. So
Oh yeah, anytime, just send me a message.